Rule 42. All persons more than a mile high must leave the court immediately.
1, 2, 3, 42.
Today's rule is rule number 34. If there are red flags, don't go on vacation with them.
Oh, come on.
Wacky Wednesday.
Freaking cat, man.
We love doing these on Wednesdays.
So, yeah. Wacky freaking Wednesday. So, hi guys. How are you all?
Good. How are you?
You guys were sick last week. Everyone's feeling better?
Oh my God, so much better.
Oh my
So
God.
much better, yeah.
We have a special co-host today, though. We should mention.
Co-host. His little name is Aiden, and he will bring you toys and be super loud and talk to everyone. Yeah.
Ooh.
Aubrey got her driver's license yesterday. She was I know. It's crazy because I don't remember getting my driver's license. I don't remember. I know I was alone. No one was with me. I was a grown up. So
You waited to get your license?
yeah, I didn't need one. I went from New York and New Jersey where there was public transportation everywhere. And then in Georgia, I lived so close to everything that I could just walk. So I didn't need a driver's license. And then eventually I did get a Georgia's driver's license. Whereas here, you can't go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Here is Florida, for people listening. And that's always comes up. A lot of people in New York City, especially, don't get their license for a while. Everyone's like, how do you not have your license? But it's like, you don't need it.
Don't need it. You got Subway, you got the train, and now you have Uber. You know.
Yep.
I have family members in their 60s that have never had a driver's license ever.
You live in New
Yeah.
York, you don't
A
need
lot
it.
of my aunts don't have their driver's license.
They don't feel isolated. They don't feel, because that's a lot of the argument when people talk about once a person gets over a certain age, maybe retesting for driving. I mean, I have personal experience with someone that maybe was a little older in age that shouldn't have been driving, that kept on driving through red lights because he thought they were green. All right. And I know that that's a super sensitive topic because for some people, they get stuck.
Yeah.
They feel isolated because you have populations like this where nothing but.
Yeah, it's always that tough conversation you have to have with the 80-year-old grandma, taking the keys, grandma, you can't see.
80-year-olds that could drive better than I can.
Yeah, and you see someone also drive through the
depends on the
7-Eleven
people.
window. Yes.
Yeah, it depends on the people because there's some young people that can't drive. So, I mean, really.
Now, but I just want to bring it back. So speaking of New York City, and speaking of murder and murdering your spouses, today we have a special guest. We have the host of the wildly successful true crime podcast, Slaycation. And not only do we have the host, we have the breakout star of the show. She's so popular that she's doing extra segments.
Oh my God.
Kim doesn't want to hear it.
Oh, I can't take this.
So today we have Kim Davis on the show. And I just got to warn you, we have a special guest today. Audrey's little guy is going to be popping in and out. Apparently.
Oh my God, look at that. How cute. How old is that baby? Look at him.
He's normally not here, but Wednesdays are for some reason the most chaotic of all of our days. So we chose to do it on a Wednesday.
Why not? Why not? I see Karen making a guest appearance too.
He is. I'm actually so excited to talk to you, Kim.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I generally try to keep I guess that type of murder and that mystery out of my life.
Yeah.
I feel like it brings in, I'm a very energy driven person. And if you're going to surround yourself by that energy, that's kind of what's going to be around you all the time. However, true. There is so much that has to be learned from it.
Yeah.
There's so much that has to be gained and garnered from the stories that you delve deep into. And I know that for some people, like actors, that it can mess with their mind somewhat because they have to really get into the mindset of a person that would be willing to go that far or to do these things. And I just remember being in high school and being super obsessed with Joseph Mengele.
Right.
And it was more about wanting to know what was going on in his head that allowed him to think that it was okay to go about garnering the information he did the way that he did. Because realistically, to this day, we use the experiments that he did.
Yeah.
As awful as we think that they are, and they were atrocious. He had a penchant for twins. And it's the reason that we know that the body can't survive at certain temperatures in freezing water. It's the reason that we know the body can't survive in certain boiling temperatures, heated water. He is one of the reasons that we're aware of that stuff. So I know it's super important, and I do kind of like stay away, but I know that there's so much fascination to learn from it. So I can't wait to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's pretty crazy. And, it's kind of a study in human character to try and peel back the layers and make sense of why people do the things that they do to each other. And one thing I can say and speak on as an expert is people suck. They do awful things to each other. They really do. And you can say, oh, it's for this reason. It's bad childhood, abuse. But I, myself included, know plenty of people that have had wretched home lives. And, I'm not an axe murdering dyke, but I could have been.
Yeah.
And
It's funny.
Well, I feel like it's in you. Some people, it's just in them.
Just in their
Just
DNA.
what how they choose to live their lives. Because it's all a choice, I think.
No, it really is. It really is. And I'm always fascinated by how people come to this place. The guy that decides that he's going to literally make an income for himself by killing his wives. Let me just stage an accident where a car falls on her. Oh, let's go on a romantic honeymoon. I will just push her off the cliff, which was kind of the story of our very first case.
Wow.
And, let me be so, disconnected from it that I can convince myself that, oh, no, that I didn't do that. I'm innocent.
Yeah. Oh, we lost.
So, so it's fascinating. It really is.
It is fascinating. And to get to that point where, like, do you ever feel like you get to a point where you understand, like, okay, well, maybe this is where this person started to lean in the direction of actually committing the crime? Because I also know there's different levels of crime. There's the ones that are done through passion. There's the ones that are premeditated. And you go more towards the premeditated and sort of.
Well, typically, a lot of them are premeditated and, also, but we cover the range, but a lot of those types of situations are premeditated because there's something to gain from it. Like, somebody that has an insurance policy out on someone and has something to gain, that's all, set up as premeditated and, and they're all awful in their own right.
Well, you have like the guy that was driving. I actually, when I was looking into cars, one of my most important components when looking for a car for my child was how safe it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up literally making it based off of someone that tried to kill his family.
Right. Right.
He drove his Tesla off a cliff with his 2 children and his wife in a car. They survived.
Wow. Oh my God. That I didn't know.
Survived. Which is why my daughter now has a Tesla. But
yeah.
He tried to cover it up and he tried to say that it wasn't intentional, that there was something in the road and he was trying to swerve out of the way. But again, these cars are so smart now. There's zero. They read through the system. The computer showed that the man sped up when he got
right.
that there was no deviation in the direction other than over. So he was convicted, and that I'm assuming would be premeditated.
Yes.
He just should have not chosen that car, but I'm thankful he did.
Right. Yes. And with forensics and, it's a little, you can get the breakdown of intent pretty easy.
So we went back to the whole, it's in your DNA. It could be in your DNA too. I remember being a little girl and like listening to some stories, and I had an uncle, a great uncle.
Right.
His wife woke up one day because he's sitting in a rocking chair in the living room, just rocking back and forth. And she could hear the rocking. That's what woke her up.
Right.
So she walks in and he's sitting there with a shotgun. And she's like, what are you doing? And he says, well, somebody's telling me to kill you. Someone else is telling me not to. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's when you run out the door.
Yeah.
He was schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
But
Yeah.
these are you don't know.
No.
I guarantee you, she didn't marry him thinking she was going to walk into the living room one day. He was going to be sitting there contemplating her murder.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
That's scary.
Have you come across stories where you've been like, there's really no explanation for any reason for people to be the way that they are towards each other? We say it all the time. It's a common theme. People suck. People are assholes to each other unnecessarily.
Yeah, definitely.
In your, this is like your profession, you are an expert in all of this. What is a crime that you feel like was committed and there was no making sense of any component of it? There was no child abuse. It was just that person did it more for the power than anything else.
So I think the case that I found probably in that respect the most egregious was a case that it hasn't even aired yet, but it was the case of this 28-year-old guy who his parents are, supporting him. He's going to school out in Louisiana, Baton Rouge. His family lives in Tennessee. He's in college since 18 years old, hasn't graduated, they're paying for his phone, they're paying for his apartment, his car, everything, right? So they decide that they want to retire. And they're like, hey, look, so here's the deal. We're going to retire, but you're going to have to take the reins now and adult. He didn't appreciate that.
At 28.
At 28, mind you.
Okay.
At 28 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, a full-grown ass man, mind you. And he, and so what did he do? He murdered both his parents. Just murdered them. Decided,
They want to stop paying for him, so he's like,
oh yeah,
now
that was the only reason.
wow.
No history of child abuse. Nothing but a loving, doting family. I mean, crazy.
Were there any issues psychologically with him?
I mean, here's the thing. Nothing that sent out alarm bells. I mean, you have a lot of people that are crazy that don't necessarily wipe out their entire family. But I mean, he was kind of known as kind of this antisocial, but I know a lot of antisocial people,
to their parents.
Right. I mean, and his, there was nothing to set the stage, if you will, for him having committed such an egregious act.
There was nothing left for them. It's not like they have life insurance policies that they were going to pay out, or.
Well, his thing was that, they did have insurance. Now, they weren't a wealthy, a super rich family by any means, but, $500,000 policy here. You sell the houses, the cars, you know. I guess he figured, you know, that those things would keep him in the lifestyle in which he had become accustomed, you know, at least for a minute while he, you know, I guess.
Figured out how to.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, yeah. And, you know, it was just interesting because so clearly that's really all that mattered to him.
Well, and the thing that kind of gets me is they were doting parents. They were doing
Loving parents. I mean,
did he really think that they were going to watch him struggle and be like, okay, we can't just let him struggle like that. Like, if they were such loving parents, it's not like they were most likely going to set him up in a position where he would be able to operate on his own, not just be like, all right, it was just the conversation that needed to be had, which at 28 should not need to be had. And this goes in line with something one of my daughter's friends told her. Your mother's reaction to you when she has to say no is not her fault, it's your fault. Because she is so giving to you and you take so much, you shouldn't have to get to the point where you keep on asking so that she has to say no.
right.
Appreciating what it is that you do get. Because
Right.
not everyone does. And it's the same thing. Like, those conversations should not need to be had at 28 years old. And she's 16 and her friend they were like 14 when she told her this.
Right. Oh, wow. Okay. You got some insightful friends, I will say. But yeah,
Very much.
that's pretty awesome. I wish that was mine when she was 16, but no, she had to, I'm going to go wild out and make you crazy. But yeah, that's really.
I have been blessed in the sense that my kids are not, they're very, like, I tried so hard to keep that childlike, to allow them to have a childhood.
Right, exactly.
Too long. I do have 6 of them though, so I'm learning.
Right. But that's
Well,
good.
And they're all so different, like their personalities and stuff, that you kind of have to navigate each one differently, I find.
I love that.
And I do have one that I actually had to remove from my home. She went to school and she drew pictures. And she was sort of concerned about the pictures. Now, she's on the spectrum. She's my oldest.
Right.
So when they kind of brought her to the psychologist, and were like, hey, we just want to ask you some questions about this photo and what it could mean. And it was her. It was a self-portrait. She was young. And one side of her face was totally normal. Like, totally, like, every component that was there. Eyes, nose, lips, the whole body was formed. The other side of her face, her body, was not.
Oh, no.
The arm and leg were sticks. The face was completely, like, blacked out. Like, so as they continued to talk to her, she said that she was having a hard time because there was somebody in her head that was telling her to kill us.
Oh, no.
And they're like, okay, so, and how do you, like, they really just spoke, they didn't react to it. They were like, okay, so, like, all right, so someone's telling you to kill your family. Like, wow, what are they telling you to do? And she's like, well, so I have to find a knife. I'm gonna have to stab them. So it's gonna have to be while they're sleeping.
Oh,
and
wow. That's so frightening.
And they're like, okay, and then once all of that's done, like, so you're just gonna kill everybody? She's like, yeah, I have to kill my siblings and my parents, which was her stepfather at the time.
Wow.
And they were like, and then what? And she said, well, then I'm just gonna kill myself. And they're like, well, are you gonna do the same thing? Are you gonna stab yourself? She's like, no, I'm just gonna jump out the window. Like, had this entire plan set in place.
Wow. I'm sorry. That's pretty intense.
We ended up back with her. She went to a psych ward. She was there for an extended period of time. She finally went to her dad's in high school, her second year in high school.
Right.
But it got to the point where we had to hide knives. We couldn't have anything sharp around. We had to, we actually had to put locks on her windows because she would just leave.
Wow, that's really intense. That's
it was a lot. But again, she did it. Other than, I mean, she's a child from a broken home, so like I was never with her father. I was never married to him.
Right.
She traveled back and forth a lot. She was diagnosed as needing additional help when she was little.
Right.
Sweetest souls you could ever meet. She would give you the shirt off her back. She will do any fundraiser in the world.
The narwhals.
The narwhals, yes. The narwhals were a really big thing for her. And she is that person. But for whatever reason, she went through this whole thing. And she still had, like, I took her to Hawaii and we got into a fist fight.
Right.
Now she's 18. So it's not even like, I can't just like pin her against something.
Right. Is she receiving, like, is she on meds? Is she, having it addressed?
So when she was with me, she was in therapy twice a week. She was seeing a psychologist once a month.
Right.
She was on medication.
And you noticed the difference. You noticed that she was calmer, more stable.
Absolutely. She was doing better in school. She was, she had a 1-with-1. But they were able to she wouldn't run away from school as much.
Right.
It was easier to regulate her. She would become, her emotions would become very unregulated,
right,
dysregulated. It was easier for them to kind of calm her down. Now she's not. With her father, she doesn't do any of it.
Right. She doesn't have that same supervision, it seems.
No, that same type of support or any of it. And it's scary because I love her, but I also have other children that I have to worry about. And
absolutely.
There is no miracle cure for the times that I have her. She would have to come and stay with me again permanently in order for me to get her into that stable place. But I can't.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to be one of your stories.
Right. Exactly.
Don't go on vacation.
Right. Exactly.
That's a great question. That brings up two good questions that I wanted to ask real quick. So, Kim, how much of it have you found? And you guys have done over 50 shows, right?
Yeah.
So that's 50 cases of
we're like 47, but you'd be surprised if you saw my spreadsheet. You'd be like, holy shit, really?
Wow.
So the two questions are, how much of it have you found is evil, just people who are just evil, versus how many have psychological issues? And the second one is, why is it happening on vacation so much?
That's the premeditated part.
I know it's easier not at home.
Great questions. I think the first question I think is a little harder to answer because, you naturally think anybody that's capable of that type of disconnect that they can murder somebody that they have a relationship with. In most of our cases, it's bizarre. It's really bizarre. I don't know that there was a diagnosed. I'm trying to think if there was any diagnosed mental health condition. And when you also consider that, I have a diagnosed mental health condition, it's like my daily antidepressant, that's a little.
But that's the other thing too, because you've also found that there are the ones that come from these dysfunctional homes. And if you're coming from a dysfunctional home, who's paying attention to you to even know whether or not you need a diagnosis?
Exactly. I mean, and that's also the thing too.
And of your 50-ish episodes, how many knew the victim?
Most of them knew the victim. Most of them were engaged in some way with the victim, whether, it was a friend or a partner, someone that they know. There's only one case that comes to me where that they were strangers. And this was the case of two couples. I'm spacing on the name of the couples now, but, one couple literally killed the other couple.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now I know. It's wild. Like crazy. Yeah, I know.
I wouldn't think thinking like, oh, hey, we're out. Let me just kill those people right there. They're looking at me weird. Like,
really, it's true.
Oh.
And imagine the ones that we don't know about. The ones that have completely gotten away with all of it, and not like in the lower number. One movie did I recently watch that the guy was only convicted of maybe 7, but they think it was in the hundreds.
Yeah, there's
probably so many like that, because you have to think of there's so many people in this world, and
that's so true. Tom, what was your second question?
I said, why does it happen on vacation? And
yes,
because you're out of your home, you're out of your comfort zone, like you're in this new place. Do you think they get away with it?
Well, the thing about vacation and getting away is everybody, and this is what we hypothesize. I mean, you're on vacation, so you're relaxed. It's, being on vacation, typically the default setting is relaxed. Your guard is down, and you're not thinking that you're going to be easy prey. Right. You're not thinking of that. This one case that we did, this woman, her husband died suddenly, and she decided she was going to, take her and her 2 kids to Aruba to just kind of decompress. It was about maybe a year and a half after her husband, their father, had passed. And, she had become friendly with this guy and his adult son, and, they would hang out. And wouldn't you know, one of the men, takes her son jet skiing, and, oh, what a coincidence. That son is never seen again. And this was, 20 years ago. So, and again, she's not thinking, I have to protect my child from all predators. And, she's on vacation. This man is like, hey, I'm a nice man, and they start to chit chat, and they have a nice relationship. They actually do a couple of outings together. Her guard is down, and he's like, hey, you want to go jet skiing, and her son had gone jet skiing with his son the day before, So, I mean, and initially she had said no because we did it yesterday, but how kids are, when the heart's like, please, 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 please. And you're just like, oh my God. And then you're worn down and you're like, just go. And that's what happened. And she never saw him again.
That's so scary.
No, it really is. And of course, like, we did, when we did that case, and you have those people in the comments, because I would never let my 14-year-old kid go with so-and-so. What is wrong with her? And I'm like, hold on now.
Everyone always has an
There
opinion.
is enough awful people in the world that we can point our ire out. She was a widow. She was bereft, just in her set of circumstances. She's there to let her kids have fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you want at a time like that. And
Exactly.
They were grieving too. They just lost.
Exactly.
You want them to have fun. You want them to disconnect from their grief and
Right. Exactly. And the other interesting thing too, like when and again, to answer your question, Tom, the thing is that you're about as vulnerable as you can be when you're on vacation. You're there to have a good time. You're not stressed typically, unless you're traveling with in-laws. Just kidding. So your guard is down. You're just relaxed. You're having fun. So, you're there for the good time. You're not thinking that like, oh my God, I'm prey, or oh my God, this, you're not like on the subway in New York City at 2:00 in the morning. It's a different vibe.
Unless you're my daughter, then she thinks everyone's going to kidnap her and like.
Meanwhile, my daughter is like getting on the R train at 2:00 in the morning going, well, I was watching my surroundings.
I have very, very
good. Give your daughter credit.
severe anxiety when it comes to groups. I have this very strange thing about the hotels I stay in.
Yes.
I can't be in one that has just one room. And people always think that it's like, oh, she's just extra. No, motherfucker. I need an escape plan. If someone busts in that door, I'm literally that person that like will put the chair under. I stay in these places alone. Every single lock that's possible.
Right.
Locked.
Right.
Is underneath the knobs. I want as much warning as possible to have the closest rate of success in getting out.
Right.
Do not trust anybody. I go to sporting events. I avoid every single part of the crowd. Anyone touches me, I bug out because like there's just too much that I don't know, that maybe I was exposed to. Like there's just so much nastiness out there. People will literally, you remember when we were kids and there were payphones and you had to be careful with the payphones because if you put your finger in there, put razor blades in there. These are the evil people that are out there that they're not even after to kill you. They just see you hurt.
Right. Yeah, that's it.
No matter where you are, even if you are on vacation.
Right. Even if you are on vacation.
Kim, you mentioned vacation. How many of these stories involve like someone just being relaxed, being away, and being drunk? Alcohol's got to be a huge factor.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Well, it makes you an easy target.
Oh, big time. And that's an excellent point, Tommy, because, when we do our takeaways at the end, which is sort of like, what can we learn from this segment? Like moving forward for the universe out there, how can we protect ourselves? One of the things that I will always lament about and say as a let's do this moving forward in the takeaway is limit your alcohol, because so many of these cases, the common denominator is alcohol, and your ability to make sound choices is severely compromised when you're hopelessly intoxicated.
And you never know what they put in there.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You have to watch your drinks and who you get drinks from, because that's a big thing too.
No, I mean, and that's definitely true. But, even just kicking back a couple of pina coladas will just have you loose and relaxed, and you will just, like, oh, I've never met you before in my life, but yeah, I'll go back to your place. Well, we had a couple of Slaycations just like that.
Jen and I were recently in Cancun, and one of the guys that was in our group got so lit that his pants were on like backwards.
Yeah,
did not know where his wallet was. His room key, doesn't know where he stayed. Eventually made it back to his room. Nothing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's So I say alcohol is definitely a game changer in a lot of this. I think, it's so important in these situations to really keep your wits about you. Yeah. Because you're already starting off at the vantage point where you're like, I'm relaxed, I'm here to have fun. And you add alcohol to it and you're just, Now,
the cases that you do on your podcast, have you done an episode on like Jack the Ripper and like all of the... Well, if you delve deeper into that, there is a direction... Oh, we won't even... There is some conspiracy theories about a man that was actually in the United States that built a hotel. And this hotel is supposed to have been where he murdered.
I know this guy. I'm trying to remember his name. I think it was Hughes, was it?
I think so. And he was actually using these rooms were
yes. I've heard of this. Yes,
That's
yes.
so scary.
Literally, yeah.
It was a hotel built to kill people.
Just lure them in and then kill them?
Yeah.
Wow. Damn. Look, I don't understand.
He would
Yep.
put gas through underneath the doors to knock them out.
Yes. Yes.
There were rooms that were almost similar to the movie Saw. There was even
Yeah, that's right. And I wonder if Saw was based on that. I would not be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either.
So I have a quick question for you. How did you get into like true crime and doing all of this?
Well, it's funny because my husband actually he had Slaycation as a show idea initially. Him and his business partner had pitched it as a like a Discovery ID show, and he was talking about it like, oh, it's such a great idea, it's so interesting, there's a lot out there and blah 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, there really is. And and then I just started telling him like a couple of stories that I knew just from my Discovery ID travels and my just having read a lot of material. And he was like, oh, you know what? We should do a true crime podcast. And I was like, no. No, we shouldn't. But, and, the interesting thing, too, is that, like, when we first met, I remember he had come to my house. And before Discovery ID and true crime was fashionable, I had, like, a whole bookcase of just nothing but true crime books,
I was worried about going on vacation with you.
He is now for sure.
Right. Perfect getaway.
Exactly. But yeah, so then he was like, let's do it. So
Now, isn't your husband a comedic writer?
he is.
So does he write your Slaycation like script or podcast?
No, actually he doesn't. But he does inject
Humor.
his humor into which adds levity to these very tragic and awful situations.
I'll just jump in. He's very funny, but I know a lot of your comments are like, "Hey, can you tell him to shut up? This is serious."
Right. Yeah.
They have a great dynamic, and like I said earlier, Kim's like the breakout star. She's even doing
Right.
segments where it's just people want more of Kim and her. Her
You're like, stop.
It's so weird. Like, I'm just so uncomfortable with that. Like, I'm not the person that's like, I'm usually like, I'm just like glad it's audio.
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah, it's just too much if it was like, I'm not the.
Like it gets to you though.
What's that?
Do you ever feel like it gets to you? Like you have to do a lot of research to find out. I mean, because there's so much misinformation out there, and then there's so many dynamics behind whatever the situation is. Like, in the comments, you get everyone has an opinion.
Yes, everybody does have an opinion. Oh my gosh, and everyone's. Here's the thing about it. I always kind of knew people were awful, so it doesn't get to me in the way that I guess it gets to a lot of people, because I come into it like, people suck. What awful thing am I going to uncover today? So it doesn't really bother me in that respect. I do find myself, feeling for the victim typically in these situations, but the content doesn't bother me. I kind of have a thick skin when it comes to that.
Well, it's important to get it out there too, because
Right.
you have the takeaways from it. Like, all right, so how do we avoid this being repeated, or what can be done differently moving forward? And it's also like putting that out there to people, because like you said, not everybody expects it. Not everyone walks into it thinking people fucking suck.
Right. I mean, one of my most, I would say a lot of the takeaways it's a takeaway that I've done more than once is if you're in an awful relationship, don't go on vacation with that person. Just don't do it. Don't try to reconnect. I suggest going on separate vacations and then Zoom. How about that?
How's yours going?
That seems so much healthier.
Yeah.
That's what I would tell my daughter to do. I would say, no. You go on vacation, he goes on vacation, separate places, maybe Zoom. That's, But, yeah, I mean, it's the other interesting thing, too, that's fascinating is when I begin researching the case, it's fascinating the dirt that you can dig up on the person. Like, it almost makes you wish that you could do a background check on everybody that's in your life. Like, what kind of disgusting thing am I going to find? Oh, he exposed himself. Nice. That's
find that's a common thread. Like, you start to, once you delve into the murderer's like background, like, yeah, shit, this guy was this, or this person, because it's not always a guy.
Yeah.
Not always, but
pretty fucked up.
Yeah, no, it's true.
There were signs or red flags.
Yeah, there's always. It's funny because I will say 95% of the time I will come up with past stuff that they did shady, and you're like, oh my gosh, like that. It makes that what they did, like the writing was on the wall.
Yeah, so you could see it leading up, like from childhood or like early.
Well, like the case of the mom whose son disappeared, and the men that he went jet skiing with. Holy shit! If she knew what was in their background, woo, she would have been like, "Stay the fuck away from us!" Like, really, it was just mind blowing. Like. You just would have been like, there's no way that you would be near us, much less go off with my kid for a jet ski.
But people don't come with warning labels.
No, exactly. That's the thing. People are just how they present themselves, just normal, everyday, And
that's a problem with, I think, a lot of these serial killers and people like that. They seem so normal. You wouldn't think that they are capable of doing what they do.
Right. And also that they're tricking you, like Ted Bundy was notorious for that. Like, notorious. Like, he would have a cast on and he'd be like, go up to the pretty girl hair party. I'm having trouble. Can you help me? I mean, just completely disarm them. And
that's part of it. A lot of them are narcissists, obviously, and they're across the board. They're generally super charming. That's like a tool in their toolbox, and it's disarming and it's charming. They prey on women, and like I think you said, it happens with women sometimes, right? But it's mostly men. In what you've found so far, right?
Yeah, I have to say it is mostly men in those dynamics.
Or are women better at getting away?
Right, that's
done.
That's a thought. That's a thought.
Wait, what are you telling us, Audrey? So you work with your husband and what he calls his work husband, the very talented Jerry Colbert.
Right.
That dynamic is definitely interesting. And the show is great.
The work husband's your friend.
Yeah. Well, he's Adam's college friend. They know each other since college. Yeah.
So when you sit down with your husband, you plan out your next vacation, and you look at each other like, what are you thinking?
You wouldn't be surprised that we don't really go anywhere.
I wouldn't want to either after researching everything you do.
Like, you have to rethink, all right, in this past year, how many times have I pissed them off?
Right, exactly.
Where do most people get killed? That's where we're not going.
Right.
Is there more? Okay, is it like more so on a cruise, in a hotel, or on the beach? Or on, like, at the beach?
Well, we've covered cases in all those places.
So where should we go? Where is safe to go?
Well, I would say that, it's more about who you're going with.
Traveling packs?
Right? The packs that you trust.
Well, yeah, packs that have a background check because you don't know people's backgrounds.
Well, cruises have to be the most obvious one, right? Because someone could just get pushed and you say, oh, well, they jumped.
Yes, exactly. And then,
Cameras on there, though.
yeah. I mean, it's although on the older ships, and we covered a couple of cases on cruises. They were older cases, and we've also had cases that were literally solved because of CCTV footage. A lot of these people didn't necessarily take that into account when planning the demise of their vacation buddy.
I have a question, and it is going to be the weirdest question.
I like weird questions.
But someone actually brought it up, and I was like, that's actually smart. And you're an expert in this. So, you know how people donate their hair? Like locks of love?
Yeah.
And they make wigs? What if someone committed a crime and had your hair, and that's how they connected? You got connected to this crime.
That's very interesting.
Now no one's
Giving people ideas now.
Right, exactly. Like, oh my God.
No murderers are going to go
That's
get
some
hair.
next level CIA censorship right there.
Think about it. How many people are out there that have donated their hair or like donated, I don't know, some part of them, and that person commits a crime and somehow it's connected to them because of DNA evidence.
That's insidious. But yeah. I mean, look, one of the last cases that we did with the son, he was trying to set it up to frame his dead father, who he killed, to make it look like his dad, So, yeah, people do think ahead like that.
Kim, what's the absolute craziest case you guys have done?
Oof. Now, let me think, because that case with the kid is pretty crazy. I just want to make sure that that's not, because it's still kind of fresh.
Did you do the one with the Russian lady in the river upstate New York?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, you just did that. Do you guys remember that one?
We did. That was our second case. And that was pretty crazy. I mean, each case is crazy for different reasons. I don't know if you remember the Shanquella Robinson case. It was a woman, North Carolina. She had gone to Mexico with a group of friends. And right. We did that case. That case was crazy because she went there with a group of friends to have fun.
Yeah.
And ends
Didn't
up
they kill her?
And ends up dead, right? And then there's a video footage leaked of her getting pummeled by one of the girls there. But no one was ever
By her friend?
by
Like
some
she
I'm not even gonna say friend. Let's say by one of her travel companions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Wait, no one was ever convicted for that?
No. Yeah. No. I mean, in fact, they all, jumped on a plane and went back to the United States and just left her there, left her body there,
like nothing happened. Like,
Yeah.
just going to pretend that we
And
and
nothing-
our vacation.
Nobody ever saw no one was ever held accountable for that. I mean, and I know one person in that group was like a friend or like a longtime friend, like somebody that she traveled with previously, somebody she went to college with, somebody that had traveled with her and her family. So that's scumbag,
Well, maybe she's afraid she's going to die too. Like, if they killed her, maybe they're going to kill, if she's...
I mean,
To stop them.
maybe. I mean, it was agreed, but, based on his behavior, I I'm not as charitable in my assessment of why he, as somebody that was extremely close to her and her family, didn't step up, and didn't even step up like while this was, happening, because if you see the clip of the video, he actually says something to her like, "You're not even going to fight back." He should tell her, yeah,
Fight Club, like
exactly. So you have this woman that is beating her ass, and he's there. And he doesn't intervene. He doesn't stop it. He doesn't say. And if you see the fight, it is just kind of like, it's disgusting, because there's no world where I'm sitting in a room with people that are now attacking each other like that, and I'm going, you're not gonna fight back. I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing?
No, you gotta jump on them and stop it.
Exactly.
But I think that might be also a New York thing, because there are a lot of people that will walk by situations and they avert their eyes and pretend that they don't see what's going on because they're concerned with what's going to happen to them.
That's true. But in a situation where you're with people and friends, like if I'm with a group of my friends and one friend starts beating the ass of another friend, I'm going to be like, what are you guys doing?
Pull them apart.
Yeah.
Right. I'd be like, cut the crap. Like, we're not going to, but no.
I'm Puerto Rican. That's when they come up to you and they give you cocotazos. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And there you go. Keep it up. Get more.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, sometimes it does take that person stepping up and saying, like, dude, enough is enough. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
That would be like a brave thing. That would be like a fucking, dude, if that was my ass getting beat, I wouldn't want other people
Help me.
there. Like,
Help me.
Was that one premeditated, or was that just something flared up?
It's really hard to tell. From the looks of it, it felt like I couldn't really get a handle on if the trip was a set up
to get rid of her.
Right.
Just get her out of the country to beat her up.
Right. But what I do know is that there was a confrontation between her and this girl, although it's not clear what set off this confrontation. What you see in the video is literally just this woman just attacking Sheikh Harlem, just attacking her. And exactly, who recorded it? One of the friends recorded. Like, that's the other thing too.
So you got a friend recording, you got other people just kind of watching, and
right, you have somebody commenting, somebody recording. I don't know, maybe it was the same person, but it's like, again, if you're in a room with your friends and two of them break out into a fight, in what world are you getting your camera and recording this? I mean, I don't know. I'm asking for a friend. I don't understand. I can't wrap my head around it. Maybe somebody else can. But,
it's a big part of the culture now.
Yes.
I mean, they are all about their videos, and
they really are. I mean, look, I get it. I'm old. I'm not grabbing my phone. But the idea that,
maybe using it as a weapon,
right,
smack them with the phone.
Exactly.
They're big enough now.
Seriously.
Exactly. Yeah.
Things are heavy. They could do a little damage. Stop.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this was like just wild that no one was ever held accountable. And, no charges were ever brought up. And, unfortunately, they just didn't have the information or, to charge anybody. And, even though she was beaten, there was nothing to conclusively tie that beating to her death.
Well, who did the autopsy?
Well, the Mexicans did an autopsy, and then she had an autopsy done in America. And, they concluded that, trying to remember how they worded it, but at the end of the day, they could not tie her cause of death to that beating per se.
Is the old "she fell down the stairs" excuse?
Yeah, it was kind of, like that. I mean, in one hand, she was, again, they were all intoxicated. The great, the common denominator, alcohol. And, she could have asphyxiated. She could have, so they didn't have, enough evidence that they could go after.
Well, that goes back to like the biggest one, probably the biggest vacation death is the Natalie Holloway case.
Right.
And they knew he did it. I mean, they had the guy and he still got away with it.
Right. Exactly.
The justice system, it's there, but it doesn't always work in
Aruba or wherever else you are.
Right. Exactly. It's honesty.
It's unfortunate, but there are so many people that have been falsely imprisoned that it becomes even harder to get these verdicts of guilty.
Yeah. Yes.
And then I like the guy that came up and said that being a juror should be a job.
Yeah. I like that guy too. He was like, why would I want people who don't know what they're doing? A jury of my peers? My peers don't know nothing.
Right, exactly.
That's true.
So now what about the next story? Are there any tidbits you could give us, or what are you leaning towards your next Slaycation podcast being about that you haven't recorded?
Well, I'll tell you, the next one is that son that noted. Yes.
How long does it take you to research these?
Oh my God, it takes me forever. It's really kind of overwhelming. I'm constantly under the gun. I'm constantly up against it. Because I'm paranoid. I'm paranoid that I'm going to not know what's going on. So I'm paranoid that I'm going to get it wrong. I'm paranoid that I'm going to get an email. That's not what happened. So I'm just
because there's so much false information out there.
Exactly. So you have to cross-reference constantly. It's like if you get two pieces of information that aren't the same, then you have to corroborate. You have to find out which is true, and then you have to double check it and triple check it. It's
actual people when you're doing your research, or is it all via internet?
It's mostly through the internet, books, articles,
interviews that maybe have been done,
and yeah.
Okay.
Kim works her butt off on this, and she's very well researched. And her comedy writer husband parachutes in last minute and just gives funny anecdotes.
That's exactly right.
So take that, Adam.
We can lighten the mood.
Who decides this is the story that we're going to do? Do you come up with a variety of them? Do people recommend them?
Yeah, we get a lot of recommendations. People are like, hey, can you cover this story? Hey, have you heard this one? I'd like this one. We get a lot of those. We have as people recommend cases, as things come up. I have a spreadsheet that I just put names into. And wow, there are a lot of Slaycations in your future. There's a lot. There is a lot.
And these are all past events that have happened. They happen every day.
Yeah. No, I mean, and there's every kind of way, you have the daughter that kills her mother, I mean, it's
Oh, yeah, the one in Indonesia, and they put her in the suitcase.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a crazy one.
Heather Mack. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was insane. Holy...
Her mom in a suitcase?
Yeah. After killing her. Beating her about the head and neck, I mean, actually it was her boyfriend. But yeah.
I just noticed you have Slaycation mugs there. That was nicely.
Yeah. Well, we're having a merch situation going, which is nice.
I love it.
Adam arranged, and it's kind of cool, actually. I just make sure.
That is nice.
I know, because it looks so nice and relaxing, and then you read it.
Exactly. It's just like,
they need to be at all the resorts and in all the cruises.
Right. Exactly.
Well, at least knowledge is power. So you're definitely giving us food for thought and letting us know that, people to think before they go away and see who they have around them.
Exactly. And think about the relationships that you're in. Like, don't normalize toxic. Like, don't, if you're in a bad marriage or a bad relationship, don't travel with that person.
Well, I know they weren't even in toxic relationships. And I know of 2 people that left their newborns with people that they were in relationships with, that neither one of the newborn was the person that they left.
Yes, child.
Father. And both of them killed him. Totally different situations.
Right.
Totally different families. Totally like know them from somewhere completely different. In one, it was the mother I knew, and the other, it was the guy I knew. The guy was like, you would never imagine in a million years.
Really?
Like that. And he just got overwhelmed by the baby, and he didn't even shake the baby. He threw the baby against a wall. Like, so sometimes you don't even see those, like, the relationships don't have to be toxic for you to lose something that is very cherishable to you.
No, I mean, that is very true. I mean, it is interesting because yes, there are those, there can be, and we see here in those situations where you snap, you have a momentary lapse with your good sense and you do something incredibly stupid, like, because, people get frustrated, like if something isn't working and they start to, Adam does that. My husband does that. Like, he loses his shit when things don't work like they're supposed to. Like, I can literally be across the street at a coffee shop. I literally could hear him.
Does he have HD?
Just literally shorting the fuck out because you can't get the computer on, the Wi-Fi isn't working, those little things that can really just, you go out the house and you're halfway down the block and you forget your keys. Like, he will literally just short the fuck out. And
I'm a Marine. I was with a Marine and we were playing, and I didn't realize he was the sweetest guy. So endearing, so loving, so like the man that opened the door for you, the man that paid all the bills.
Right, like a real gentleman.
Yes. And I really thought, like, oh my God, like, I want to spend the rest of my life with this guy. And we were in his living room and we were playing around. We were just joking. And we were kind of like wrestling. I grew up with brothers. It's what we do. And all of a sudden, I don't know what I triggered in him, but something happened. He had PTSD, did not know. And I found myself being choked out.
Like, it just went right there. Yeah.
Right there. I was pinned down to the floor and you could see it in his eyes. Like, they weren't his, like, he had the bluest eyes. They were jet black.
Right. Like, there was a connect.
And I couldn't talk because he was choking me. And I was losing it because I couldn't fight him anymore. And I just didn't fight. I stopped fighting. I just laid there and let go and just relaxed my body. And all of a sudden, he just kind of like enough so that I could get words out. And I go, it's me. And all of a sudden, he started crying. He's wow. Oh my God, I don't know what happened. I did not stay in that relationship.
Right. No, you're like, all right, it's okay. I'll let you back out the room.
I got out and I never went back.
No, I don't blame you, girl. That's
scary.
Yeah, there's a lot of women out there that would have, but good that you.
Not for that. Like, I didn't even know where he came from, and he told it to somebody that I didn't recognize. Like, if he could do that in the blink of an eye, and like, what if I hadn't stopped fighting? because me stop fighting is what stopped him.
Right.
But how was I supposed to know that?
So then he
It
started.
was reflex.
Right. He like kind of came back, it seemed like, from this days.
Mm-hmm.
You know what case I thought was real? I don't know if it's a Slaycation but it's one of the most horrible and neglectful cases that I've ever read about. Was that woman that went, I don't know if she went to Mexico or was it Puerto Rico, but she went and left her child like alone in the house. Like the child was a baby.
Yes.
Yeah, you know the case, right? Yeah, that.
The baby's starved to death.
Yes.
How do you just leave your, like, okay,
Thank you.
bye, going on vacation.
I don't,
Figure it out.
Left like a couple bottles.
yes.
I don't understand what goes through people's heads sometimes. Like, how, like,
I think the baby was about his age.
Yes, I think.
That would be me. So he's 2. That would be me going on vacation for a week and leaving him in a crib.
Right.
Him is Audrey's 2-year-old son who's on the show with us today. They're being very well behaved, very good.
yeah, he's been super Bella.
Kim, a question I have that comes up a lot is why are women so drawn to true crime and to what they call murder porn? Like, why is that such, and my wife included, loves true crime. What is that, like sports for women, basically? The same kind of rush that men get from sports?
Yeah, right. It does seem like that. I think that women find it, and again, this is with my personal opinion, I think that women find it fascinating because they are overwhelmingly the victim. And I think in many respects, it is, while maybe not intentional, but education. Like, okay, how can I, like, let me see what goes on here. How can I distance myself from this while learning? I think that that does come into play.
Well,
I really do.
if you go off of like statistically, you're saying that the men are the ones that are committing them. And
Right.
So, well, why wouldn't a woman want to know, like, okay, so let me learn through through the deaths of others how to better save myself?
Right. I think that there definitely is that component. I think there definitely is sort of, a curiosity about the many ways in which something like that could go down.
And the fact that it does.
Yeah, that's a scary.
More than we would
Want to
like to admit. Yeah.
Well, there's so much out there that we don't.
Yes, that's right.
There's so much out there that we don't realize how is Mimi's at school. That we don't realize how prevalent it is because they keep it so quiet.
Right.
Train stations. You're in New York. Do you know how many people just walk right in front of the train to die? And we are not told. We're not.
Right.
We don't want more people trying to do it.
Right.
Yeah, my husband was one of the ones that used to clean the bodies off of the trains there.
Oh, wow.
Do that. Yeah, he worked for Metro North, and then there were the people who were still kind of alive, where they would have to like not move the train so that they say bye to them before they moved it, and
That's so crazy.
But these are all things that we're not told about. So now allowing people to an outlet and a resource that goes directly to information that's pertinent to women. Do you know how many women you have probably had as listeners that are now in a class for self-defense, or actually go over their shoulders, or will see a guy that's like in a cast and like, hey, can you help me? And it's like, no. Or I've listened to someone and they were like, women need to learn not to park next to a van.
yeah,
Don't park next to a van. You never know what's on the side of that van.
or if there's something on your windshield, you're not supposed to like get out and take it off. You're supposed to drive somewhere safe because that's the thing.
Right.
That they do.
They would never get out your car.
Yeah,
And it's important. We all of us have daughters, teenage and young adult daughters, and it's hopefully they get these street smarts. I'm sure your daughter has it, Kim, because she grew up in Brooklyn. But we're in the
Yeah.
suburbs. Audrey's now in the suburbs. Jen too. So it's
Right.
Street smarts. Zero. None.
Yeah, I will say that, like, for my kid, being a New Yorker and having grown up, like, navigating the trains and, getting herself to and from, really since middle school, I find that it translates well when she goes to other cities like Cleveland, which is its own brand of, and there does come like an awareness, like you have like a solid sense of situational awareness. Like you're like, oh yeah, no, we don't go over there. We don't go to East Cleveland. No, it does lend itself to some measure of like acute street smarts.
That's definitely something my children do not have. They will be the one that goes, East Cleveland, let's go.
Right.
That's like, someone got, so in Florida, I'm in Florida right now.
Mm-hmm.
And in Florida, you are allowed to have a gun in your glove compartment.
Right.
So a lot of times whenever I have a car service or something, the one thing that they tell me is, if you are ever in a car accident, do not argue with the person. Immediately call the cops.
Yeah.
Because everyone around you has a gun in their glove compartment. Do not argue with people when they get next to you. Just avoid them. And it is for that reason. And I saw a car accident occur in front of me yesterday, and all I could think was, my kids are in the car. These people are, and they were arguing. And I'm like, they probably got guns. And I'm like trying to get past them as fast as possible.
Oh my God.
Just in case they start shooting at each other. But again, my kids would never. They'd be like, "Ooh."
Right.
Bring out the camera.
Oh my gosh. How old are your kids?
I have 6, so they range from 18 down to 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So and none of them were street smart.
None of them. You're like, not one of them.
Not one. They will disappear, and I'm like, you have to stay where I can see you.
Right.
See me. What's the problem?
Right.
Well, they're still little. Once they get older, they'll be a little more street smart. Because, I mean, mine, when they were little, weren't. But now that they're all, like, closer to being adults.
How old
I'm not.
then?
Mine go from 23 all the way down to 13. So I have 5.
Right. So they're like in that.
So they're like they're going into being adults now.
Right. So now
I'm not worried about any of them. They, the boys know how to fight. My
awareness is...
My husband was very into showing everyone self-defense and how to. My daughter knows how to throw mean punch. Like, he's not. She also grew up in a house with boys, though. So
Right. That.
My 2-year-old knows how to put lipstick on.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, as somebody that grew up in New York and was on the subway, and my entire adult life was, I've seen a few things.
yeah.
And and having grown up, been raised by crazy people, the one thing that I can say that has been sort of a lifesaver in the sense is, when somebody approaches me, what's always been effective is acting crazier than them. And I have had men roll up on me, and I just go off and scare them. And let me tell you, it's been, thank God, pretty effective. But it is scary out here. And, and one of the things, too, it's like, when my daughter started taking the train by herself, like, I didn't just throw her to the wall. She's 20 now.
How old was she when she was taking the train?
She started at 11, 12.
Okay.
And that's, and when I say she started 11, I wasn't like, all right, well, today you're taking the train. I did like a whole thing where I would say, like, when she was 11, I would have her take the train like maybe twice a month.
Yeah.
And I would say, so what you're going to do is you're going to do this. And then I would watch her because I would give her these rules. And I would say, so what you're not going to do is you're going to not have music on. You're going to hear what's going around.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're going to make sure that, I said, if you need to speak to somebody, find preferably a woman with children.
Yeah.
If you're needing help, that's going to be your target. And, just gave her all these rules. And I would literally just sit in the car and watch her. And I did this for a few times. And I would say to her, yeah, I saw you. You was on your phone. You wasn't paying attention. You walked against the light. You can't do that. And if you don't pull it together, you're going to be hurt by your mom everywhere. And then, so I did that with her, pretty much throughout 6th grade, that by the time she was in 7th and 8th, she was able to travel, and I was satisfied that she could handle it. And the other thing I told her, because this always happens, the other thing I said to her is, when you're on the train, don't be shocked if some guy tries to show you his penis, because that is going to happen.
Yes.
Okay? And if it doesn't, it's a miracle. But don't be shocked, which is why I say to her, make eye contact with nobody. Make eye contact with nobody.
It's scary. It's scary. But it's so funny that you're talking about how you should act like crazier. So recently, my daughter and I did this because we were by ourselves in an area we were unfamiliar with. I could see people across the street. I knew that they were guys. I know I'm smaller. She's smaller. So we were walking, and and I know that people are not going to be able to see this, but the both of us were like this.
Right. The thing is, it's like they don't know if there's something wrong.
Well, just so people listening can hear, Audrey just made some weird dinosaur motion and sounds.
And we were walking like we were zombies and making these growling dinosaur sounds. And, everyone looked at us, but then everybody just kind of was avoiding us.
Right. Because they don't want that. They don't want any parts of that.
And then, no psycho.
Look, look, it's one of those things, if you're loud, especially people with insidious intentions, they don't want to fuck with you if you're loud, because you're calling attention to them too. So they're going to pass.
Oh, I like this. So not only realize who you're going on vacation with, make sure you pay attention to them.
Right. Exactly. And that's a good thing too. If you're going to go away with somebody, call a lot of attention to yourselves,
make sure everyone knows you guys were there.
We are going together.
Exactly.
A lot of selfies.
Exactly.
Anybody trying to me, a lot of people have my dot. They know where I am.
Right.
Well, thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
This was so much fun.
So we wanted to see, how do people get in touch with you if anyone wants to find you? And do you have a website or Instagram?
We have our Facebook page. We have Slaycation, but we encourage everybody to join us at Slaycators only, because we have a fun little fan base that interacts with us and asks questions. And we post pictures of the people in the case and videos. We also have our website, which is, you can find that at slaycation.wtf. You heard me right, slaycation.wtf. And I have a segment that I do called More Kim, which is a subscription. And that's just basically my rants on the absurdity of a lot of these cases.
And of course, we can find Slaycation podcasts on all podcast platforms.
Yes.
Right. I can't wait to hear your next one and find out what's going to go on.
Oh my God, it's crazy. prepare to have your mind just like, really, this is, yeah, that's.
I'm gonna be down to you. I'm never gonna leave. I'm just gonna be like, I'm good.
I know, it's true. You're going to be like, I'm on a staycation. But I'm
at home.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Kim. It was
Well,
such
thank you guys. Okay. Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
yes, it was.
And yeah. All right.
And you definitely defeated us.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm glad. All right. Be safe out there in these
You
streets.
too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
1, 2, 3, 42.
I really liked her.
Yeah, she's
Dude, she was awesome.
Yeah, she totally like. I know that they're like. She says that you have to grow like a skin, or she's a little
Yeah.
for
she's New Yorker. She's a New Yorker.
definitely, but like, and not that that's a bad thing because it's just being able to delve into that world and not losing a piece of you because it's hard. It's a lot. It's really fucked up to realize just how many fucked up people are out there.
Yeah.
How close they are to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, how lucky you've been. I always say my mentality is 95% of the world are good people. They just want to be with their families, dude. But there's 5%.
Yeah.
You know, you brush up against them, and that's when things go south. You know,
That's
they're
the
out there.
scary thing is how many of them have we been around and not even known it?
Well,
I moved up to Wilton, and you're trying to be safer, and you're trying to like make sure that your kids are in better school zones and all of this stuff. And the first year I was there, a neighbor shot another neighbor. I was like, what?
you moved there to avoid that specifically.
Yeah. And then I had another friend that moved to the Bronx because one of their children were murdered in the Bronx. And they moved up to like West Bumblefuck. So they're like in the woods, like up where the houses are like mansions, but they're like this much money compared to New York. And I think a year later, the other son was murdered up there.
So scary. Like, what world do we live in? Like, people just like, come on, people. Can't we
Well,
just like,
That goes back
nice?
to saying we're lucky.
Yeah. Like, can't we just be nice to each other and not kill each other?
Yeah, this shit is hard enough as it is. You know,
Seriously, life is hard. How about just like not worrying about getting killed? Like, can we just
Dude,
be
we're-
friends?
Well, people committing suicide because people are just being mean. Like
Yeah.
there's stuff. It's the
Yeah.
world out there that we live in, and it's kind of fucked up though because sometimes like your kids will literally tell us like, or will literally say like, really, this is what you brought me into. But there's good out there too.
There is.
Like,
there is.
you
There's
just
so much good out there. There really is.
be conscientious of your surroundings, and you have to know what the real world is. It doesn't just knowing about it doesn't mean that that's what your life has to be.
Yeah.
No, but knowledge is power. And at least knowing about all the bad stuff, you know what to look out for and you know how to keep you and your family.
You know, we had this discussion with the kids the other day that they're doing lockdown drills, and it's like
Yeah.
I was telling Christine, I said, just explain to the kids. Like they tell them the truth. They say, okay, well, just in case it's blah blah blah. I said, tell them like there's a lion that got out of the zoo. It happened once, but they have to get on a boat from Africa and come here. But just in case, we want to be ready to show them like how kind of farcical it is. It's because the numbers are good,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, it does happen. So it's just.
I mean, when we were a kid, we did it. We did drills, but they were for like, what was those, earthquakes or something?
Oh, when you go onto the desk.
No, that was for like the bombs, wasn't it, or something? Not the
Yeah.
earth.
I'm not that old.
Like bombs.
I'm not that old. Air raid drills are our parents.
Oh. Didn't they go on yeah, it was for the bombs, though. That's why they went into the desk.
Well, we
I
had
don't remember.
even fire drills. We all walked outside. You're like,
Yeah, we had to
10
walk
minutes.
outside.
Now I'm out of class for 10 minutes. Perfect.
Except for when it was cold. And it just,
Oh, that would suck. And then you'd be standing there and you didn't have a jacket and everyone would be shaking.
you
I was
couldn't
like-
grab anything. You just had to evacuate.
Yeah, why are you doing February fire drills? It's freezing.
I don't
Do it
get
in
that.
June and September. But I'm not.
All the kids that were already outside the playground with their coats on be like, ha ha.
Yeah, you guys suck. But now you guys travel a lot. I mean, you travel a ton of. You go everywhere. Do you feel like now you're gonna have your eyes more wide open after having Kim on today?
Well, but like what I said before, I've always like the rooms I stay in are for a reason. Yeah. I get very paranoid when I walk into a room and it's the only thing that I'm walking into. Not because it's the only, like oh, this space is so small. No, because that means if I'm sleeping and someone else opens that door that I don't know, they're walking right into me.
Yeah.
I have nowhere to go. So like I've always been kind of overly paranoid when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah, we're the same when we travel. We're very vigilant of our surroundings and who's around us. And
Well,
like I said, Kylie, she's gonna get kidnapped all the time. So
Jen and I went to California and we're in this like huge suite and there's all these places that you could sleep, but no, like you feel safer. Like we stood as far from the front door as you possibly could.
yeah, we're
And we made sure all the other doors were closed.
I don't take it that far, but I am the psycho who goes over the evacuation map on the back of the door, like to show the kids, okay, the fire exits are on this side. In case it's dark, you go that way. So I get it. I totally get it.
better safe than sorry. I feel like it's better, you know.
Better safe than
I
sorry.
think I've actually done that. I was in a fire drill once in a hotel, and me and I want to say there were two of us, and we're just standing there, and we're waiting for the elevator, and we're like, well, if this elevator never comes, we're never getting out of here. And it took us so long to realize that they shut the elevator off.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, they shut it
fire.
off.
Because someone came out the steps and went, guys, the elevators are off. It's an alarm.
Yeah, if those cables burn, you're done.
Yeah.
You'll be stuck in there.
So just be vigilant. Don't
Yeah.
and don't go on
I
vacation with any red flags, right? That's what Kim said.
Yeah.
Don't drink too much on vacation.
Get out of the toxic relationships.
But
Do
also,
not go on vacation with people you're having trouble with.
but also enjoy life.
Yes. You can go on separate vacations and zoom each other.
All right.
We got this.
All right. Well, that was awesome. So first off, again, Kim was great. I know that they end their segment by like, what do we take away from this? I feel like we took a whole lot of shit away from this.
We
We
did.
just went over that list. But yeah, I love it. And I can't wait to see what we do next time on Roll 42.
Thank you.
Peace.
1, 2, 3, 42.
Rule 42 is hosted by Audrey Cruz and Jen Burke. It is produced and edited by Tom Smith. The opening song is Rule 42 by Eddie Carr. Rule 42's artwork was created by Aubrey Cruz. And I'm your announcer, Molly Smith. Thank you for listening to Rule 42. We hope you enjoyed the show. New episodes premiere every Thursday on all podcast platforms. Please subscribe, share the show, and leave us a 5-star review at Apple.